Hi there everybody, Adam here from Mirror World News. You may have heard the terms plotter and pantser flying around the writing community. Well, today we're going to explain it. Hi there everybody, welcome to Mirror World News. Again, my name is Adam and I'm here with Justine Dowsett, publisher with Mirror World. And today we're going to be talking about plotters versus pantsers. What does that even mean? All right,
I knew you were going to say that.
All right, so we'll start with the first one. What is a plotter?
Okay, I think a plotter should be fairly obvious.
Talking about writing, by the way.
Yes. It is a writer who plans everything out in advance. They keep notes as they go. They write everything down basically on paper, and they do probably more research.
Okay, so they plot things out.
Yes, they plot things.
Oh, well worded. And so pantser would be?
The opposite, which would be someone who just goes with the flow. They sit down, they write by the seat of their pants. They just do everything in their head. They don't bother with keeping notes and writing everything down.
Okay, so they have their entire plot and all their characters and their story and everything all up in their brain.
Yeah.
Whereas a plotter puts it all down on paper for future reference.
If you ask a plotter or ask a pantser about their character, they'd be like, "Oh, they live in my head," and they'll talk to me. Sometimes, some people get really into it.
Oh, okay. Whereas a plotter, they live.
Mostly on paper, they like to maybe draw a character diagram out and like explain, this is what my character looks like, this is what they do, this is what they had for breakfast. Like they'll plan everything out.
Okay, so alright, so is there somewhere in the middle then?
I like to call them plantsers.
Plantsers. Hybrid words.
Right. So it's really a spectrum. So it goes all the way from the extreme on one end of planning everything to the extreme of just not bothering to plan, or you can plan some of it and kind of go with the flow sometimes.
So from the Cimmerillion to improv.
Hey, there you go.
There you go. All right, so let's start with plotters then. How do plotters plot?
Okay. So we kind of already talked about this, but like planning it out in detail, when they come up with their idea, they're going to have their setting, they're going to have their world building done, they're going to have their characters all drawn up, they're going to have their plot point by point, they might even have their what happens when, just every incident written down. And they're going to do their research on every topic they think they're going to come across as well.
Okay.
And then when they sit down to write, they flesh all that out. So it kind of like point form becomes a paragraph, becomes a chapter.
Okay. So on the extreme,
yeah,
they might have their entire manuscript done in point form.
Exactly, yeah. And there are people who definitely do that.
Okay. And so then by the reverse, how do you pants?
So I'm personally a pantser. I'm definitely on that end of the spectrum. So I will come up with an idea of my overall concept, maybe something I want to happen. I'll invent usually two people to start with, and then give them motivation each. Put them in the same room and say, okay, go at it. And it's more like a role-playing game or something like that, where you go with the flow and you figure out how these two characters and what they say and do interact with the world at large, and then that creates your story. So I don't know where my story is going until it's over.
Okay.
So right. Completely different.
All right, so you are more of a pantser, I am more of a plotter.
Oh.
So, which is better?
Oh. We should have like a tournament, like
I know,
a showdown.
We should, right? You'd win.
Every writer's different, and as we said, it's a spectrum. So, it's not that one is better than the other. One works better for a different type of writer, I would say. So for me, if I tried to plot everything out when I went to go write my book, I'd be bored. Because I already did all that stuff,
See, whereas me, if I do the whole thing as to pants, I would kind of forget things partway through. I probably pants dialogue because I let it flow naturally from the characters that I create, but the plot is all it's all plotted out.
So as a plantser then, and that's kind of what I've more become over the years, having written a lot of books, I've kind of learned
That's the mid-ground.
Yes, having learned the value of some plotting and the value of pantsing, I'll sit down and I'll keep notes on all of the things that I've come up with, because I've got, my life's busy, I'm going to do other things. So if I go back to it, at least I have some notes. I have what's called a living document. So as I'm writing my book, I'll go and edit anytime something changes. I'll edit that living document or add things to it or take stuff away, and that helps me keep track of where I am with the book, what details I might have. I came up with a cool idea last week and I may have forgotten it, so it's in there.
Yep.
That sort of thing.
For any of you that don't know a living document, it doesn't matter whether you're a pantser or a plotter. keep one.
Yeah, it's a
they
good
help.
thing.
Especially if you're doing like fantasy and you have weird spelling for names or something.
True.
Keep
true.
it.
And then you got your notes for the
Yeah.
end, if especially for a fantasy book. So
Yes.
you know your map, your character names. If you've got like a tree of your ancestry of your characters or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Or even
Yeah.
if you're just at a coffee shop and you think of a really cool way that someone's going to word something, put it in your living document so that's written down.
Neat marketing trick at the end when you're going to write blogs about your book and about your process. That living document will come in handy because you can use those notes to kind of promote your book as a little bonus or extra.
Yeah, so it's always, pretty much like anything, there's a huge spectrum as to where you would fall for whether you're plotting something out or whether you're just flying by the seat of your pants.
Yeah.
So it's always good to have a little bit of both, in my opinion. I think that's the strongest option.
Well, when you're first starting out and you're not sure which one's going to work for you, you can always try one or the other.
Yeah.
A good tip is if you are a person who likes organization, who likes to be, you keep maybe journals or notes, or you like to have an agenda, you might be somebody who's a plotter. So that sort of thing. Yeah. If you're a person who's more like intuitive about creative projects and you just like to come up with something on the spur of the moment and just do it, you might be a pantser. And if you have traits of both sides, you might be somewhere in between. So you can always try planning loosely and then adapt as needed. So if you come up with a plot list, don't have to stick to it. It's your notes. You can always adapt those and change them.
That's another thing too, with plotting and pantsing or anywhere in between, you're never stuck.
Yeah.
Don't ever feel that you're stuck doing one because it worked last time.
True.
Every project is its own project. You might find that you're doing one where flying by the seat of your pants is the best option for that book, but then you're gonna dig down into a series or something and you need to plot it out.
Yeah, I learned that the hard way.
Multiple books. So never feel stuck on that spectrum somewhere. Always go wherever you want.
Yeah, definitely. Or if you're different genres might require different things, because fantasy and science fiction require more world building. You might need to do more research.
And if you're doing a historical bibliography, you're gonna need to plot
Exactly.
Right. Whereas if you're doing historical fiction, just have fun with it.
Right, exactly. Or, you could be writing a short story. It's very short and easy, so you can just write that on the seat of your pants, and then a novel might take more work. It's up to the writer.
Not that either one is more fun, because plotting can be really fun for some people. And
Exactly.
pantsing can be really fun for some people too, but
You can see we're perfectly divided on this issue, so.
somewhere in the middle is best.
There you go.
Awesome. All right, well, thank you very much for finally explaining those terms that some literary areas are throwing around, plotting and pantsing, so it's good for you to know them. So thank you very much, Justine.
Thank you.
And you have yourself a wonderful day, and so to you.